government institutions, political party leaders, and representatives from civil society, the media, members of the diplomatic corps, development partners, students, and fellow citizens. On behalf of the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, it is my honor and privilege to warmly welcome you to this occasion. The commemoration of Edward Francis Small and the official launch of the E.F. Small Center for Rights and Justice, your presence here today is a powerful affirmation of our shared commitment to justice, to democratic governance, and to citizen empowerment in the Gambia. We are deeply grateful that you have taken the time to join us in honoring one of our nation's greatest pioneers. Edward Francis Small laid the foundations of organized civic resistance, political consciousness, and patriotism in this country. By gathering here today, we are not only paying tribute to his legacy, but also reaffirming our collective responsibility to uphold the values he stood for, and these are freedom, dignity, accountability, and service to the public good. Today also marks the formal introduction of our beloved center, the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, as a national platform dedicated to advancing human rights, strengthening transparency and accountability, empowering citizens, particularly young people and marginalized groups, and contributing to the consolidation of our democracy. This launch reflects our belief that empowered citizenry and accountable leadership are essential to sustainable development, peace, and social justice. We are especially honored by the presence of the family of Edward Francis Small, whose support and encouragement have been invaluable to us throughout the whole process. We also extend our sincere appreciation to our speakers, our moderators, our panelists, our partners, and all the individuals and institutions who have contributed in various ways in making this event possible. In this regard, we have singled out the Njaya Family Trust for their timeless financial support in hosting this event and making this possible. As we proceed with today's program, we invite you to engage openly, reflect deeply, and recommit collectively to the unfinished work of building a just, inclusive, and accountable republic. This gathering is not only about remembrance, but it is also about renewal. A renewal of hope, a renewal of purpose, a renewal of values, and a renewal of action. Once again, welcome and thank you for standing with us and for being part of this historic occasion in the life of the center and of the Gambia at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajay Fatu. I think that was a good opening remark. Before I invite Madi, I find it fitting to say that Madi has done a great job for the country, and it's not by accident he chose Edward Francis Small as someone that he's going to name the center. Then what I'm going to do is just to get Madi to come on the podium and his opening statement.
Okay, thank you, my dear brother. And as you say, I stand on existing protocols established by dear comrade Ajay Fatu from Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a historic day in the life of our country. We gather to recognize and celebrate Edward Francis Small as a national hero, the father of Gambian independence and the pioneer of political activism, pro-democracy struggle, journalism, trade unionism, civic resistance, and patriotism in the Gambia. We also gathered and formally launched the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, an institution deliberately founded to immortalize the name of Edward Francis Small, to perpetuate his legacy and epitomize the ideals which he fought and died for. Edward Francis Small was not just a historical figure, he was above everything else an idea, a movement, and a conscience. The time when oppression was normalized and silence imposed, he chose courage over comfort, resistance over submission, and collective liberation over personal safety. He organized workers, mobilized farmers, educated citizens, challenged injustice, and spoke with unvarnished truth. Power, that was, laid the foundation for political consciousness and organized civic action in this country. His life reminds us that rights are never given freely, but are demanded, defended, and protected through sacrifice and organized action. We are proud that Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice is the only institution or second institution after the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital to be named after this icon. This is more than symbolic. It marks an awakening of national consciousness, an awakening that is necessary for the salvation, renewal, and the future of our republic. We urge the government and other entities to name institutions, more institutions, initiatives, programs, activities, and places after Edward Francis Small and similar national individuals who made invaluable contributions to our collective freedom and development. Established in October 2024, we are here today to formally launch the center while commemorating the life and legacy of E.F. Small. It is our intention to institutionalize this commemoration into an annual public lecture to be called the Edward Francis Small National Lectures. It's a platform for reflection, learning, and national dialogue on human rights, justice, accountability, democracy, and citizen power. Our presence here today is thanks to the overwhelming support, of course, of the Jai Family Trust and many others who have provided support in cash and kind to enable us to organize this event. We express our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude. At the outset, Mr. Chair, let me express my deep appreciation first to the family of Edward Francis Small, who are fully represented in this hall. At this stage, I would like to kindly ask them to rise for public recognition and appreciation. Can we see the family members of Edward Small in the hall? Thank you. I am sincerely grateful. Today is a day of engagement, so we have to talk, for their support and encouragement. From the very moment I reached out to them regarding the establishment of this organization dedicated to the life and legacy of their forebear. Ladies and gentlemen, I also wish to thank my dear brother, Jai, who is the moderator for this event, for accepting to moderate. His selection was also deliberate and conscious, because in him I see values that resonate strongly with those of Edward Francis Small: integrity, courage, commitment, and service to the public good. In the same spirit, I extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Nana Gray Johnson, a veteran journalist and a prolific and seasoned writer, for accepting to deliver the keynote address under the theme Edward Francis Small, pioneer of civic resistance and democratic consciousness in the Gambia. We believe this address will connect the life of Edward Francis Small to the aspirations and realities of the Gambia today. His scholarly and journalistic work on the history of E.F. Small has been instrumental in helping us build the intellectual foundations of this center. I wish to also recognize, we hope he will join us eventually, he's on the road, Mr. Hassan Sise, the director of National Council for Arts and Culture, who also have graciously accepted to further expound on the work, legacy, and the enduring impact of EFSCRJ on the Gambia's political and civil landscape. Our high-level panel, which we will have shortly, will be moderated by a seasoned development expert, Dr. Katin Toure. This choice, too, is deliberate and conscious. Balanga was the launch pad of Edward Francis Moore's activism. If resources had permitted, we would have been holding this ceremony right now in Balanga. Amongst the farmers and the communities, EFSCRJ defended and organized. Since we are unable to go to Balanga, so we bring Balanga here. And there is no better person to represent that legacy and those values that Dr. Katin Toure himself, the great son of Balanga, we are grateful to him. Indeed, all members of the high panel that we have constituted, Nene Cham, President of the Bar Association, Mati Jawa, Chief Director of the CRPD, Jabu Sisao, the Speaker in Parliament, Ms. Hannah Foster, the Executive Director of the African Center for Democracy and Human Studies, Ahmed Kubani, the President of the Gambia Federation of the Disabled, and Professor Abulai Sen of the Young Sane Institute. We are constantly identified because of their personal commitment and professional work in advancing human rights, rule of law, and democratic governance in the Gambia and beyond. The decision to commemorate EFSCRJ and to run this center on his birthday is intentional. I hope you will have time, Mr. Chair, to sing about this song to EFSCRJ. He would have been, 60, 70 years old today, if you have been alive. No, more than that. So I'm mixing up my mathematics. But from 1891 to date, we are in university, they can calculate. Yeah. So the decision to commemorate EFSCRJ and to this center's birthday is intentional. It is a declaration that the values we stood for, the values of freedom, of equality, of justice, accountability, and citizen empowerment remain relevant, urgent, and non-negotiable today as they were yesterday. While the Gambia has made progress since the end of the dictatorship, we must be honest. Democracy remains fragile today. Accountability is still weak, impunity persists, institutions are vulnerable, and many citizens continue to experience exclusion, inequality, and injustice. EFSCRJ Center is established as a response to these realities to contribute to the building of a Gambia standing far on the cherished ideals and values of EFSCRJ. The center exists to promote and protect human rights, advance democratic governance, strengthen transparency and accountability, empower citizens, especially the young, marginalized groups, and contribute to systemic reforms that place the public interest above personal or partisan gain. We are firmly guided by the belief that sustainable development, peace, and stability are impossible without respect for human rights, the rule of law, and accountable leadership. This center is not founded to supplant the Gambian government or compete with any CSO or non-state actor, but to complement and strengthen efforts and initiatives for public good. Not to seek confrontation for its sake, but to insist on accountability. Not to speak for citizens, but to amplify their voices. We are guided by the conviction that an empowered citizenry is the strongest safeguard of democracy, and that leadership must always be accountable to the people it serves. We are particularly deliberate in hosting this commemoration and the official launch at the University of the Gambia. The university stands as the citadel of learning, research, critical inquiry, and reason in society. It is here that minds are shaped, character is built, and a sense of civic duty and responsibility to country and people is cultivated. A nation that disconnects its centers of learning from its history, struggles, and values risks producing graduates without conscience, skill without responsibility, and knowledge without purpose. By commemorating EFSCRJ within the university, we are affirming that education must go beyond certificates and credentials. It must instill historical consciousness, ethical leadership, and public responsibility. Students must learn not only theories and techniques, but also the sacrifices, the courage, and the patriotism of those who laid the foundations of our freedoms. EFSCRJ represents a tradition of intellectual courage, principled resistance, and service to the people. These are the values that must inspire every generation of scholars, students, professionals, and leaders. The university must remain a space where the histories of patriots and freedom fighters, in addition to EFSCRJ, we have displayed some of our trailblazers on the other side of the hall, are preserved, studied, debated, and internalized. It must be a place where young people learn that citizenship carries responsibility, that knowledge carries obligation, and that leadership demands integrity and service. In this sense, today's lunch is not only institutional, but it is also pedagogical, civic, and generational. It is a call to students and academics alike to see themselves as active participants in the ongoing struggle for rights, justice, and democratic governance, just as Edward Francis Small did in his time. As we officially launch the center, we reaffirm our commitment to principled advocacy, evidence-based engagement, peaceful but strong action, constructive collaboration with civil society, the media, public institutions, development partners, and citizens at home and in the diaspora. We will engage, we will question, we will challenge, we will propose, and we will mobilize, and always guided by the Constitution, the laws of the Gambia, and our shared aspiration for a better Gambia. In commemorating EFSCRJ, we do more than remember the past. We commit to the present and the future. We commit to ensuring that never again is not just a slogan we chant, but a lived reality. We commit to building a republic where power resides, serves the people, institutions serve public interests, and every Gambian can live in dignity, opportunity, and hope. Let today mark not only the birth of an organization, but the renewal of a national resolve to act, to organize, and to stand firm for rights, justice, participatory democracy, and accountable governance, just as EFSCRJ did in his time. I thank you all for standing with us, believing in this vision, and working this journey together. May the legacy of EFSCRJ continue to inspire our actions, and may EFSCRJ Center serve with integrity, courage, and purpose. And may the Gambia always move forward in freedom, justice, and dignity for all. I thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Comrade Madi Jabate. I think you've been steadfast in walking the walk, more so than talking the talk. I think you've done an exceptional job for the Gambia. And good patriot never looks for a thank you, but looks for impact and change. And like you said, peace is just not the absence of war, but the prevalence of social justice. And social justice was something that Edward Small wanted for his people. So I think you've done a great job detailing who Edward Francis Small was. And happy heavenly birthday to Mr. Edward Francis Small. Next, we have Mr. Philip Sen. Mr. Philip Sen is a board member for the foundation, or the center, sorry.
for the benefit of those who arrived after Aji, I dare repeat the salutation. We are saluting the ambassadors, high commissioners, Gambian ministries, National Human Rights Commission, heads of political parties, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Quite often, we hear the expression, Gambia is at a crossroad. Knowledge about the past tremendously helps us understand what contributes to the present predicaments. Therefore, historical review is necessary. And as such, I am compelled to refer to Edward Francis Small, Kwame Nkrumah, EFSCRJ, and Sir Dawda Kairaba John. I will also briefly refer to Gambian culture. Gambian culture has much emphasis on moral techniques, teachings, and behaviors, honesty and truthfulness, character formation, and services to the community. These help to build decent patriots and thought of Gambia first before self. Looking back into the pages of history, Edward Francis Small, watchdog of the Gambia, and I focus on the paragraph fired for standing by the truth. A letter arrived in Balangar from the desk of the acting superintendent, Reverend G.J. Lane of the Wesleyan Mission at Dobson Street, Bathurst. The letter announced the termination of small services for impropriety of conduct. Impropriety of conduct. He lost his job, he was fired. The second quote, although the imperial governor succeeded in hounding out the patriot into self-exile in Senegal and extended exile in London, it was impossible to stop his mission. The British office in Dhaka chased him wherever he went, and soon the safe haven became quite unsafe. I move on to Nkrumah's quote. He said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless and until it is linked with the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. At attaining his independence, he said that was not enough. I now refer to EFSCRJ. He, that is EFSCRJ, was asked, what do you see in the future of this country? He responded, Hope. Hope. This country will never be destroyed. We just have to raise fewer thieves and more patriots. It is a blessed country. Pay attention to his concern. Thieves and patriots. Ladies and gentlemen, these codes reveal the true character, patriotism, integrity, and truthfulness. These Gambians that I have just quoted are focus and principles. Edward Francis Moore died in 1958, 7 years before independence, before the Gambia attained independence. We were struggling to quote how old you would have been today as we celebrate this day. I think you would have been 135 years old. His Gambianness was quite unique. He struggled against colonization. He toiled for a nation, sweated in defense of the poor, the liberal, and the marginalized. Maybe sad, maybe happy enough, but I will add, he left behind no wealth or earthly assets. The author of Watchdog of the Gambia deserves great commendation. He opened our eyes. And that is why we were able to turn back the pages of history. I would also say the late Dr. James Langley and current generations of scholars on Gambian history, they also deserve recognition. Gentlemen, ladies, after a brief review of our past and turning the page to current events, after seeing the struggle of these patriots, these great leaders, great sons of the Gambia, what do we have today? Why do we say we are at a crossroad? In our times, we need selfless patriots to strengthen the struggle for a better Gambia. So government officials, dignitaries, and so-called intellectuals prioritize their selfish interests over defending the truth. There is urgent need to eradicate endemic corruption, embezzlement of public funds, theft and robbery are being glorified today. Nobody is ashamed to stand in public and tell lies. Those who grew up in my generation at school days in Banjul, we could remember anytime somebody takes a property not belonging to him, either belonging to a colleague or to the institution, what happens? Immediately after school, a crowd of students, sea of students who follow, clapping, Jankaliko, such a bad hoot. And you will grow up remembering that Jankaliko, and you will swear never to take any property, particularly public property. We have seen cabinet ministers, national assembly, and judiciary being engaged in what is called Yakalante. By salary, sitting allowances, clothing allowances increment, land cruisers, patrol, etc. Luxury vehicles. I remember our first president, when his esteemed advances recommended to purchase a special armored vehicle for him. What did Salvador? He looked at the cost of living and the status of the economy at that time in Ghana. And he replied, he said, no, sir. He will go in for it. We have misappropriation of COVID funds. Questionable Ghana asset sales, seaport and banking road and drainage project management controversies. Just to mention a few. This is where we are. I will also mention a word, an expression that really hurts me. It is the expression, "Fankum, no Alibaba." These are wrong and are not typical of Gambian moral values. No Alibaba. We are not hard, we are not sheep, we are not eating that God. We are human beings with good moral values. Brave to think. No, I'm a man, also, I will say, greed is insatiable, unquenchable. Once you are greedy, nobody will ever satisfy you. You can loot. Our forefathers prayed that we have less thieves registered in our national birth register. But, sir, we are not only having more thieves, we are having rogues, bandits, robbers, because they take even on daylight and they boast about it. Nothing will come out of it. I also had some expressions correctly. And I say it is either a deception or deep ignorance to claim that Burfoot, a village, is like Dubai, a modern city. To make this comparison, You are either deceiving or you are stupid. I will also cite other things that I have seen. They say the Gambia has the best hospital globally, as claimed. Yet, ladies and gentlemen, we have the best hospital globally. Yet, cabinet ministers and their families seek medical intervention in foreign hospitals that are India, Turkey, and the United States, and who uses the best hospital, the rank and file, the poor. I have also heard a university graduate failing to comprehend the expression draconian laws. This is sheer dishonesty. If at that level you cannot comprehend this expression, you are just dishonest. In pieces of wicked, I urge all use the brain rather than the stomach. Instead of making a decision and thinking of your pocket and your stomach, what you eat, think, use your brain. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, inspired and guided by the work, commitment, and sacrifice of Edward Francis Small, would contribute to the attainment of good governance, sustainable development, and justice for all Gambians. There is an adage which says, blood is thicker than water. But ladies and gentlemen, I say, justice is thicker than water. EFSCRJ pursues justice for all. I thank you all.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Sen. It was not only thought-provoking, but I think sometimes it's good for us to be reminded of the realities of our time and the responsibilities bestowed on us by virtue of our citizenship. Gandhi once said, "There is enough for all our needs, but there isn't enough for all our greed." And I think that's something noteworthy for us to just have in mind. Next, I'll have Mr. William Small, a nephew of the late great Edward Francis Small.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, members of the High Table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one and all. Let me start by saying how glad, honored, and privileged I am to be here with you today to make a statement on behalf of the family of Edward Francis Small. First, the entire Small family would like to extend their profound gratitude and appreciation to the engineers, the organizers of this event, and to the founder of this center.
a special acknowledgement and thanks to Mr. Nana Johnson, whose years of research and hard work, he has become the eye-opener of what we are doing today. The eye-opener of the lifetime achievements of Edward Francis Small. Edward Francis Small, though humble during his lifetime, he was steady and firm in principle. His entire life was devoted and dedicated to the fight for justice. Justice for the powerless. And he was the voice for the helpless, for the voiceless. He demonstrated to the colonial oppressors in his time and generation that lack of knowledge and education was not a barrier to one's human right and economic freedom. As a trade unionist, he spent his entire life fighting for the political freedom and economic development and human rights of all Gambians. His lifetime endeavors was manifested on the 18th of February 1965, even in his sick and dying state, the Gambia achieved the status of nationhood. Edward Francis Small lived his life fighting the wrong and helping the right. A true Gambian patriot. He lived, he fought, he won, and he died penniless. But with the crown of honor. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you once again, sir. That deserves a commendation. And your closing remark, he died penniless. See, wealth, unfortunately, in today's world is measured by what the eye can see, material. And wealth really ends with virtues. And E.F. Small, like you said, he didn't die poor. He died a rich man. Rich because he impacted, rich because he discharged his commitment and conviction. And that's what wealth is. Thanks once again. I'll now call on my auntie, Auntie Manjati Konjai, Ergo, to come and give a statement.
Good morning, everybody. Please allow me to stand on all existing protocols. Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather not only to commemorate a towering figure in our national history, but also to give life to an institution that carries his spirit into the future. We honor Edward Francis Small, a son of the Gambia, whose courage, intellect, and unwavering commitment to justice laid some of the earliest foundation for the freedom we still continue to pursue. And we officially launched the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, a living testament to his vision and a beacon for generations yet to come. Edward Francis Small was born in 1891 in Batos, the Gambia, at a time when the Gambia was firmly under colonial rule and the voice of Africans were systematically excluded from decision-making. Yet, even within that constrained space, he dared to imagine a different future, one in which Gambians could speak for themselves, organize their rights, and claim their dignity as equal citizens. He was not merely a critic of colonial injustice. He was a builder of institutions and movements and empowered ordinary people to stand together. As a pioneering journalist, Edward Francis Small founded the Gambia Outlook and the Senegambia Reporter in 1922, using the power of the press to challenge discrimination, expose injustice, and awaken political consciousness in the Gambia. Through his writings, he confronted racial inequity, unfair taxation, and exclusion of Africans from governance. At a time when such resistance carried great personal risk, he chose truth over comfort and justice over silence. As a trade unionist and organizer, he founded the Batos Trade Union in 1929, which was later known as the Gambia Labor Union, becoming one of the first to formally organize workers in the Gambia. He understood that political freedom without economic justice would remain hollow. By mobilizing workers, taxpayers, and ordinary citizens, he planted the seeds of collective action and social accountability. These efforts were not isolated struggles. They were early chapters in the long journey towards self-determination and independence. Although Edward Francis Small did not live to see the Gambia gain independence in 1965, his ideas, sacrifice, and activism profoundly shaped the nationalist movement that followed. He helped awaken a sense of civic responsibility and public awareness that inspired future leaders and movements. His life reminds us that independence is not a single event, but a process, one built over time by those willing to challenge injustice and organize for change. The legacy of Edward Francis Small is therefore not confined to history books. It lives in our Constitution, in our labor laws, in our civil society organizations, and in every effort to hold power accountable. His legacy teaches us that rights are never given freely. They are claimed through vigilance, solidarity, and principled struggle. It is in this spirit that the establishment of the Edward Francis Small Center for Justice, for Rights and Justice is both timely and necessary. The Gambia's democratic journey continues to evolve, and while progress has been made, challenges remain of governance, accountability, human rights protection, social and gender justice. This center stands as a space for learning, advocacy, dialogue, and action. It is a place where history forms the present, where citizens are equipped with knowledge, and where justice is pursued, not as an abstract ideal, but a practical and lived reality. By nurturing civic education, promoting human rights, supporting research, and fostering constructive engagement between citizens and institutions and gender equality, this center will contribute meaningfully to national development. A society that understands its rights, respects the rule of law, and values justice is a society better positioned to achieve peace, inclusion, and sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, as we honor Edward Francis Small today, let us do more than remember his name. Let us commit ourselves to the values he stood for. Courage in the face of injustice, unity in the pursuit of dignity, and persistence in the struggle for a fairer society. May this center serve as a constant reminder that the fight for rights and justice is not the work of one generation alone, but a shared responsibility across time. May the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Injustice inspire us to speak truth to power, to defend the vulnerable, and to build a Gambia where freedom, justice, and equality are not aspirations, but lived reality for all. I thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thanks once again. I think it was a great deliberation. And the words of always on the saying, Jamano, kuko feke warsa defluba. Luai sakanawa. Indeed, we have nothing but great things to say about Edward Francis Small. And that's why people do the ultimate by doing the right thing. Are we doing what we ought to do for country? Because tomorrow there will be a narrative. But that narrative will be built and cultivated today. So what we end up being depends on how we're living our lives today. Thank you so much. I think we're going to have a group photo, then we'll have Barhama, and the session continues. We have a quick group photo.